The next in this Devo series is Describe and Explain. And we're still talking about telling the kids in our lives of all the goodness of God so that they hear and see and know the Lord. So in Deuteronomy 32, it says this: Remember the days of old, consider the generations long past. Ask your father and he will tell you, your elders, and they will explain to you, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance. And then later in verses 10 through 12, it says, In a desert land he found him, in a barren and howling waste. He shielded him and cared for him like the apple of his eye, like an eagle that stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, that spreads its wings to catch them and carries them aloft. The Lord alone led them, and no foreign god was with them. So let's unpack these verses. I love the descriptive words used here to describe God's care, like the apple of his eye, an eagle over her young, wings to catch them. The Lord alone led them. Kids love books and storybooks that describe the story vividly with pictures, well-drawn artwork, great words, and the words leap off the page when the descriptions are so vivid that you can see the story in your mind as you hear it. So invite the kids in your family to come and ask you questions about your childhood. They may not think to do so, so invite them. Maybe they'll ask you what you got for Christmas as a kid, or what you played with, or who your friends were. Tell them. Even if you're only a teenager and you have little bitty kids in your family, tell them. And when you do, remember the events that caused you to draw closer to your Father and tell them why by using descriptive words. Maybe you lost a friend to death when you were a kid and were crushed and felt alone and sad. And over time, God was like a warm blanket to your cold heart. Use words that kids can understand and see and visualize and take into their heart. This entire chapter is telling of God's exploits and his mighty hand. And then right near the end, in verses 46 to 47, Moses says this: Take heart all the words I have declared to you this day, so that you may command your children to carefully obey all the words of this law. They are not just idle words for you, they're your life. By them you will live long in the land you are crossing to possess. Have you ever considered that if you don't tell your kids of God's faithfulness to you, you're withholding words of life? They're not idle words, which sometimes we think our kids don't want to hear what we're saying. But if our words come alive with personal truth and descriptive love, they will listen. Often we tell stories with accusatory words of instruction and warnings to our children. But it seems to me that we're told here to tell our stories of hope and deliverance with gusto, using words that bring to life to the ears of our kids the words that we're saying. So crank up the AC, pull out some of your warmest blankets, gather around by candlelight, and tell your kids of your own personal stories of God's goodness. Then offer them a blanket to cuddle as a visual of covering over their own lives today and forever. Describe and explain. It will be life to their bones.